and welcome to the Merryweather Knitting Podcast. My name is Gabriella and I'm coming to you from my home in Germany, where I'm so excited to chat with you today about knitting and crafting and making and all kinds of things. It's been such a long time since I last sat down to chat with you. I think the last time I sat down to record a podcast was about maybe a month before I had my baby. So yeah, it's been a long time. She's now 3 months old. Almost 4 months old, so it's really been quite a while, but lots has been going on in my life, so I'm excited to catch you up, and I'd love to hear what you're up to, what you've been making, what you've been doing the last few months, your current project on the needles if you're knitting, or on the hook if you're crocheting, or if you're sewing. I'd love to hear about any projects you're working on. Yeah, I am just now returning to knitting, I would say. It's been a very eventful last few months. Lots has happened, not the least of which is that we had our baby, our little girl. We had another little girl. If you're new to the podcast, I already have a little daughter named Esmeralda, who's about 2.5, and we had another little girl. Her name is Vivian, and she's just so beautiful. She's such a bundle of joy, and it's been so much fun to watch Esmeralda and her already kind of bond and become good friends. It's so different to have 2 babies than it was just to have one, because of the way it's just watching Esmeralda interact with her little sister Vivian and see how they play together, seeing how Vivian responds to her. She's really like now in a really adorable baby stage where she's like smiling all the time and just super active and kicking her legs and rolling over and just kind of really engaged, and she loves to watch her big sister dance around and look at her, and it's just really such a special time. So I've been very occupied with mothering. That's been the biggest kind of thing that I've been doing since we last sat down to chat. And of course, that's pretty much it's definitely a full-time job to have a newborn and then a little baby. You know, she's not a newborn anymore, but to have a little baby and to have a toddler. And so that's been just a really joyful occupation for me the last few months, and I mean, yeah, I'll chat more about that too. But another big event that we've had is that we have moved house. We're in a new apartment in the same town that we were before, but in a new place, and it's just so lovely. I think I had mentioned also in a previous podcast that it looked like we were going to be moving, and that ended up happening. It was just a miraculous, amazing gift and a blessing that this place was available for us, because right now it's not that easy to find apartments in our town, and it's just a lovely place. It's almost like twice as big as our last apartment, but it was a really good deal, and it's really close to where we were before, which I love because we were really close to the forest, really close to nature, but now we're also a little bit closer to town, and there's lots of lovely culture here in the town we live in. There are lovely shops and lovely parks, and it's a little bit more accessible to go places with the girls, and so it also has a little bit more of like a city feel where we are now, which I enjoy so much. And coming from the States, like the infrastructure, or I guess the way that like cities are laid out, is just so different here in Europe than it is in the States, and especially here in Germany. I mean, I can only really speak from the German perspective, but it's like so cool because you can really have this really city-ish feeling and be living in like apartments really close, but also be like 5 minutes away from nature, from like a big forest preserve, or just like fields and farms, and it's just really cool the way it is. Because I feel like in the States things are a little bit more spread out and sprawling, and here in walking distance we have like theaters and grocery stores and all kinds of shops, and it's really cool. I mean, I have a yarn shop, a little local yarn shop within walking distance. I have bookshops within walking distance, cafes, all kinds of things. But I also have like a beautiful giant forest within walking distance. So I feel so blessed. It's such a gift. It's such a blessing. And I think having grown up in the States, I know for some people, maybe, I know for some German people, it may not seem like that big of a deal. But for me, or for people who are from big cities, that's also maybe different as far as like having access to culture, obviously, but it's really so fun. It's such a cool place to live, so I'm really enjoying it, and it's just so lovely here. And that's another thing which has just been occupying so much wonderful time and focus and energy, has been kind of making this little apartment a home for us. because we're planning on staying here for a little while, at least. We never know. You never know how long you're going to stay somewhere, but we painted all the walls, or actually we didn't paint the walls, but my husband, Nick, and his parents, they painted the walls, and also a really good friend of my husband's and of ours, our families. They just like kind of got it all ready for us before we moved in. We had a week or two of time between the leases that we could, that they could come in and do things, and it was just such a gift. So it was really fun to pick out colors and dream about decorating and setting up this new space. It's really just been such an adventure and so much fun. And so I haven't been knitting very much until recently. I've just kind of gotten back into the swing of knitting, and I think that's maybe also a reason why I haven't come on to chat with you, because I haven't had a ton to talk about knitting wise, but it's also hard to find a moment with a baby and a toddler, because I'm really the full-time caregiver when it comes to them both, and there's just not always a moment for me to sit and record without interruptions, but the time wasn't right, and so now the time is right. I'm so glad it is. I'm so glad to be sitting with you. But even though I haven't been knitting, I have been very, very full of inspiration, making and in a very creative mode the last few months. I've really loved making and creating, and I've done all kinds of crafts. I've done lots of different things. So I'm excited to share that with you. And, I'm going to share those things with you on the podcast too. And I have a blog as well if you're new. It's merryweatherliving.com. It's like my website and blog. And there I am excited to maybe share more posts about other things I do besides just knitting, because I love making. And I'm sure lots of you are also that way, that you like crafting and making and just adding handmade things, elements into lots of different aspects of your life. So yeah, I'm going to share that with you too. And yeah, I'm just so excited. So I'm trying to think back, I'm going to put in some footage, because I have footage from the end of my pregnancy when I was just in kind of a sewing frenzy a little bit. I was just loving sewing. I had sewn my first project and shared it. I shared it on the podcast and on Instagram. I sewed a dress for the first time for myself, and it was just so much fun. I loved it. I fell in love with sewing. And then I decided I wanted to make a little miniature kind of a handmade capsule wardrobe for my postpartum time, for the end of my pregnancy and my postpartum time. And I was successful in that, I would say. I think that, there was one or two things that I didn't end up making that I had wanted to make, but I still had I had a miniature little handmade capsule wardrobe for my postpartum. Yeah, I had Vivian in July, so it was kind of, it was summertime, and I made mostly summer dresses. But I transitioned those in the beginning of fall, wearing little jackets and coats and sweaters, or wearing a shirt underneath of a dress. But now most of those dresses are packed away for next season, because it is getting much chillier now in November, and yeah, I just haven't been wearing them now. But I'm gonna look back, I'm gonna put footage in, but I made a couple of dresses. I think I shared this, I think it's called the Bellbird wrap dress. I had made it out of some wonderful, gorgeous fabric. By the way, I'm sorry, I'm noticing now that there's a light coming through. We have beautiful windows here, but I see that there's a light patch of light on my head, so I hope that doesn't bother you. But so I made this Bellbird wrap dress out of this gorgeous fabric I got that was kind of a linen cotton blend. And that linen cotton blend I got for a super good deal. It was kind of a khaki color, not a color I would usually choose, but I fell in love with it, and I wore that dress so much. I wore it while I was pregnant, I wore it afterwards, I wore it all the time. I hope I can show you some pictures. It's just such a beautiful dress, and it was so practical. And I already know I'm going to wear it next year too. It was it fit me when I was pregnant, because it's this wrap, the wrap style, you can kind of let it out or make it a little tighter, and I'm sure it'll fit next year too. And so I loved that dress so much, I wanted another one, and I had always wanted a white linen dress. I just love white dresses. I love linen. I love white linen. So I also made a white linen version of that dress, and I'm very happy with it, except that I feel like not being pregnant, the waistband is the waist strap for wrapping it is a little bit low. So, I think next year I'll probably I'll just probably fix that. But I still loved wearing it. It was so fun to wear, and just so lovely and elegant. And I feel like those kinds of dresses are just so easy to just put on, wrap yourself up in, and then just go out the door and you feel very elegant and very just lovely. I just loved it. So I made those 2 dresses. Then I followed a tutorial for a shirred dress, which is a simple shirred dress out of, I had this red muslin fabric that was also an amazing deal. For me, you know, I am on a budget all the time. So yeah, sometimes I kind of get to treat myself, or I get to have a little splurge, but most of the time I'm really on a pretty tight budget. So if you're new to the podcast, you'll find out that's a big part of my making process, is figuring out ways to make things, you know, without having to spend too much, and kind of finding good deals and making things out of them. But this muslin fabric was amazing. I made this shirred dress out of it. I will link the tutorial below. I think it's just called Easy Shirred Dress, or I forget the exact name of the pattern. I don't remember exactly what it was called, but I will put it there for you. And it was such a lovely project to do too. It was so much fun because I learned how to shirr. So easy, I was amazed, and it just gave this amazing shape to this dress, which I wore in the end of my pregnancy again, and then I wore it afterwards, and it was so flattering. It made me feel so good and so confident in those early days, because, and it was just so easy to put on, to just throw on this dress while I was, you know, a little bit sleep deprived and just kind of adjusting to life with a new baby. It made me feel so put together, and it was also just, it was just so beautiful and so feminine, and it was so flattering. So like a shirred dress is gorgeous. And I had wanted to make like a milkmaid kind of dress, and so I kind of made little puffed sleeves for that dress too. And the way that I did that was I took some like elastic and I kind of just like improvised it myself. There was no pattern to that. That was my very first like kind of going into uncharted territories of like, you know, just experimenting and trying to figure out how to make something work with what I had. I kind of had this vision, and then I just kind of tried to make it as best I could, which, you know, kind of worked out. It looks a little bit like, if you look closely, it looks a little bit haphazardly made, but I'm really happy with it. I think it's beautiful, and I loved wearing it. And what else? Okay, I think I made another dress too. Oh yeah, I did make also a proper milkmaid dress. I got a pattern from Etsy, which I forget the name of. I'll also put that here for you to see. And I made a dress out of kind of, yeah, I know I at least have photos of the fabric. It's kind of like a gingham, like a brown and white gingham cotton, which I loved. I love gingham. I think gingham is so cute and so classic and so just adorable. And I think it's kind of it was kind of a trend this year a little bit, this like gingham, and I just love it. It makes me think about like Little House on the Prairie, or like, you know, certain kinds of books, old books that I loved to read as a child. I feel like calico and gingham are like both of those kind of textural, like you know, patterns are just gorgeous on fabric. I love them. There's just such like a nostalgia to them. Yeah, so I love the fabric, and I made a dress out of it, but honestly, I really was not happy with how the dress turned out. I made a couple of mistakes, and I'll just be completely honest with you. The pattern itself was not, like, it didn't really fit me. It wasn't the proper, like, the right pattern for me and my body. It's really, really beautiful, and I know it would be super flattering for lots of people. But the sleeves, and I could have seen it at the beginning. I should have known when I just looked at the photos, because it's obvious on the photos. It's not like I was surprised. But the sleeves are like attached right here, and so they kind of fall off if you want them, or they can be up. But they're here so much that it's kind of hard to wear it without, like, your bra strap is here, and then there's like the sleeve is here, and so it's just, it just didn't work for me. I'm not able on a daily basis to like wear a strapless bra, and so it doesn't work for me. That didn't work for me, which was a bit of a shame. I'm thinking that next year I'm going to try to, you know, fix it a little bit, or see what I can do to try to maybe make it work for me, because I really like the idea of the dress, and I really love the fabric, but it was just didn't look that great. And then also like the back, it just wasn't for me. It wasn't the best pattern for me, which is a shame, but it was beautiful. It's a beautiful idea and concept, and for lots of people I know it would work. It just didn't suit me very well, unfortunately. But those were, I think, the main dresses that I made and that I sewed. And then after that, I sewed a tablecloth, which was very basic. It was just a big long piece of fabric that I just kind of like hemmed, and I made a gingham fabric. I used gingham fabric, made it like a gingham tablecloth because I just love gingham. And I took like white and beige gingham, and I just love this tablecloth. Now I have it all the time on our kitchen table. We have a little cute kitchen, and I just have it on the table, and I feel like it brings such warmth and coziness and like just this like little touch of like nostalgia to the room and to the kitchen. So I made that, which was a lot of fun. And I just recently, for a different little craft, pulled out the leftovers from the brown and white gingham dress fabric, and I used it for something, and I realized maybe I have enough for some brown and white gingham napkins, which I think would be so cute to have like darker brown gingham napkins with the tablecloth. I feel like I've said the word so many times. I want to say it again, gingham. I've said it 1,000 times, but I think it would be so cute. So that's a plan I have to hopefully at some point soon kind of like make a little, a few napkins. I think that would be adorable. But yeah, I feel like I'm talking so fast. It's been such a long time since I sat down, and honestly, like both of my babies are sleeping, so I'm like, I just want to tell you everything before they wake up. I'm gonna try to slow down. If I speak too fast, which I know I've been told before that I talk too fast, just they're on the like bar on YouTube, or if you're on your phone, it should also be in the options. You can slow down the speed of the video, so my voice isn't so fast, but yeah, I'm gonna try to slow it down. There's no rush, but I have so much to tell you. I hear Esmeralda singing in her bed. It's actually her nap time and her rest time, but she's just singing over there. But okay, so yeah, those were my main sewing projects, and that was just a huge fun exploration of sewing, and I definitely want to return to sewing. I haven't since having Vivian, but I know that that's gonna come, and I do feel like sewing was such a perfect craft and outlet for kind of those warmer months because, you know, I had some amazing summer knitting projects, but it was just something different. And I loved making dresses because I really love garment knitting, and I really love making garments and kind of, making wardrobe pieces. And I felt like summer was the perfect time to do that with clothing. Of course, all year round that can be done. And I'm sure I'm gonna want to at some point, like, dive into warmer clothes sewing and garment sewing, but I can imagine in the warmer months I'm gonna return to that. I was into sewing, now going to the knitting. I feel like I'm so jumbled, it's been so long, bear with me. I had decided to knit another little top, a knitted cotton top. Last year, this year, I took part in the spring knit along that We Grow Wild did. And it was just so much fun to knit with plant-based yarn. I had never done it before. I had never knit like a garment out of plant-based yarn before. And so I had kind of drafted or designed my own little pattern, a little top, little yoked, lacy top t-shirt. And I loved it. I loved it. I called it the Butterfly and Brambles top. It isn't like a pattern that's anywhere to get. I'm hoping that maybe I can like develop it to where I can grade it and maybe share it on Ravelry, because it's really, really a fun knit. It's really simple, but I feel like it's very elegant and very wearable, but also just relaxed. And I think it would be flattering on lots of different figures. So maybe one day I'll be able to do that. I hope so. That would be fun. But I had knit one and I loved it. And I started wearing it. I wore it in my pregnancy. I wore it all the time to kind of dress up like my late pregnancy, leggings, and I was wearing just really comfy clothes at the end of being pregnant. And I would just throw that little shirt on because it was a little bit looser. There was lots of positive ease, and it was just, I felt like it dressed it up and elevated my look and made me feel really kind of elegant, even if I was feeling very pregnant at the same time. And then postpartum, I wore it too. I loved that plant-based yarn. And so I cast on another one, and it's kind of now in hibernation, but I'll show you. I just cast on with some gorgeous cream colored, natural colored undyed cotton yarn, 100% cotton, and it's beautiful, beautiful. It's from, I'm not gonna know the name of the brand, but I will share it soon. They were very nice, and they sent me a couple of balls of this 100% cotton yarn, very affordable, really beautiful. And I have knit just the yoke, about half of the yoke. And I call this the Butterfly and Brambles pattern, or t-shirt. because it has little motifs of, I don't know if you'll be able to see them here, but little butterflies and little brambles, like little kind of winding branches. That's what I was inspired by when I designed this pattern, the kind of motif. Kind of experimented with different stitch patterns, and then I just put these little butterflies and these little branches, and I love it. And it really makes me think of springtime and summertime, and honestly, it makes me think of like really late summer when there are just these last butterflies, just these beautiful big butterflies, and these brambling bushes that are just overgrown and lush and just at kind of the peak of their fertility. I love that time of summer, and so that was what really inspired this little motif. And yeah, I love it. So I definitely am going to continue knitting this. In fact, as I see it right now, I kind of want to knit a row on it. It's really fun. But for now, it's right in this bag. But I really enjoyed that project, and I'm thinking, yeah, hopefully one day I can share it with you. Oh, here's the ball band. It's called the Yarn Lovers Egyptian Cotton. The Yarn Lovers. I definitely recommend checking them out. Super cool, amazing cotton. It feels really lovely to knit with. 100% cotton, like I said, and it's Egyptian cotton. And I just have this cream color, which is lovely, lovely, lovely. Just totally perfect for the purpose of, this project. So there is the Yarn Lovers in this natural undyed color. Yeah, that was what I think that was what I mostly worked on while I was in my first 6 weeks postpartum. As you see, that's a very small amount of knitting because it's also like worsted weight yarn. It's not a very thin, light yarn. But I didn't do that much knitting in my postpartum for a few weeks, and yeah, now I'm just getting back into it. But I've also been working on a pair of socks, which I will share with you next time, because I don't know where they are right now. I know this is such a jumbled moment, but I really wanted to just catch up with you, so I really hope it's okay. But it's my own pattern again. It's a lacy pattern sock. I've been working on these socks for ages. I finished the first one. I'm halfway done with the next one, and this is the project I'm really on a roll with. This one and one other project actually. Yeah, I call them the Moon River socks, and they're knit with the gorgeous, beautiful Soleil colorway from Paper Crane Yarns. Oh my gosh, and I think it's her sock base. I think her main sock base. It's just such a gorgeous colorway, the Soleil colorway. I've never gotten tired of it. It's taken me so long. Ashley, if you're watching this, Ashley is the podcaster from Paper Crane Yarns and the shop owner. She has her own little local yarn shop in, I think Alabama is where she's based in the States. And also an online shop. She's just so lovely. I love her podcast, so check her out. Yeah, I really feel like I've been knitting this project for, I think, a year. It's taken me so long, but I've been knitting this project for so long, but I just love it, and I never get tired of it. It's so beautiful. So yeah, those socks are almost done, and then yeah, hopefully I have a little pattern I can share with you because I really love that motif too, and it took a lot of experimentation to arrive at that little lace and cabled design, but it was so much fun, and I just love that project. So I've been now enjoying knitting it in the evenings. Now Vivian is kind of sleeping more and more, just gotten into a good rhythm, so I have some extra time in the evenings where I like to sit and knit, and I love it because it's kind of a good combination of interest and also kind of mindless knitting in a way. I'm definitely right now in need of more mindless knitting, or yeah, potato chip knitting, kind of relaxed. Yeah, not too much going on as far as like having to focus on a pattern, because at the end of the day, when I sit down with my needles, or in the morning if I have a few minutes, I mostly just want to have something to do with my hands and just kind of like fall into this rhythm. I have done a few rows on my End of Cleaves, but that's definitely a slow, long-term project for me still, because I often think, I want to knit that tonight. I want to knit on my End of Cleaves tonight, but it's a very intricate cabled pattern, and even if it's bulkier Aran weight yarn, I don't know, I just, at the end of the day, I just want something to do while I sit here. But yeah, so those are some of the projects. The last little knitting project I want to show you is my ballerina wrap top, which has also been one that you've seen. I've said it once again, I have not done that much knitting. I'm just getting back into it, but I've just finished the I-cord. Finally. And I am planning on knitting this wrap top a little bit with longer sleeves than in the original pattern. It's a gorgeous pattern. But I want it to be more of it's a warmer piece than the original pattern. The original pattern, I think, is more of a summery kind of a top. But I want this as a really like a little wrap cardigan to put on and have as just kind of a cozy little layer. So yeah, as you can see, there are my needles. I've just picked up stitches for one sleeve and I'm going to be knitting on those hopefully this evening and just getting those sleeves done, and yeah, we'll see what happens. But I'm loving this project so much and I can't wait to have it done. I think it's going to be so beautiful and so fun to wear. For a moment I was scared that it was like a little short, but I think it's not going to be too short, and especially when I block it, I think it'll stretch out a little bit. We'll see. If not, I will, gift it to someone. But I really love this colorway. I think it's so beautiful. This is the Victorian colorway by Knit Picks, and this is yarn that my grandmother gave me. She had it and she never used it, so she gave it to me, and it's just really special. I think this colorway is unfortunately discontinued, but it's just a beautiful kind of raspberry vintage Victorian colorway. I love the Victorian era and I love Victorian literature, so I just feel like the name of the colorway Victorian, I just love it. I'm so excited about it. I've missed knitting, but I just didn't have the capacity for it the last few weeks because I've been, like I said, doing a lot of other kind of creative things. And I realized, my hands were very tied quite literally with Vivian. In the first 3 months, I really just have held her and had her on me. I like to wear her and just carry her with me all day long, but it felt a little like, I was just doing a lot with her, and then with Esmeralda, keeping her entertained and playing with her and reading to her a lot of books. And we've been going through all the Beatrix Potter books right now are her very favorite. Mrs. Tiggy Winkle, if you know about Beatrix Potter books, Beatrix Potter is the writer who wrote Peter Rabbit and Benjamin Bunny and all those books. Mrs. Tiggy Winkle is her very favorite story right now, which is so cute. I just love it. And yeah, my hands have been so tied. So there was a little phase of time where I felt a little bit like, oh no, am I missing out? I'm missing something with knitting. A couple of weeks, right in my early postpartum period, where I was just kind of like, oh, am I, I'm not making anything. And it was kind of a little like, oh my gosh. And a lot of people talk about when they have a new baby, they have an identity crisis or something. And I think a part of it is often just adjusting to the role and adjusting to, your role as a mother to this new little baby. And I heard someone say that with each baby that's born, a mother is also born. And, even if that's your 5th baby, you're the mother to this baby, you're their only mother. And it's kind of like, you're also born into this role as their mother, even though you're also the mother to all these other babies. For me, I was already a mother, but I kind of was also, a new identity was born with this new person and this new little creature and this new little being who relies on you and looks up at you as their mom. So it was really there's adjustment for that, and I think there are lots of amazing women who I know and who I've observed who just flow right into that so effortlessly and so without any bumps, any hiccups. It just seems like they just flow into that, and I admire that so much. But for me, there's it's kind of this kind of, I'm not as elegant in my processes, but so I was a little and I think a lot of people also have that too, where there's a bit of an identity crisis for a second, oh no, am I ever gonna sleep again? Is it ever gonna be, there are these things what's gonna happen? And I feel so thankful because I've learned from a lot of amazing women, and I've also found amazing kind of systems and rhythms that work well for me and work well for us. And I feel like we've really found an amazing flow together, my little girls and my husband and I and our little family. So that's so amazing. But in the time that I had when I was just with Vivian and very occupied there, I was so thankful for other outlets and other creative kind of endeavors. Not being able to knit all the time kind of re-sparked a lot of other passions of mine, or I kind of focused more in on things that I had kind of just been interested in on the periphery, and also moving. I love interior design. I love decorating. I love like making a space a home. I think it's so much fun, and I love the way that artistry can be integrated into every part of your life, you know, even into the mundane aspects of your life, to those little quiet moments. And having limited time, you know, for me with like 2 little babies, kind of really highlights that. And you know, you have to find those outlets in other places, and in those little small quiet places, and in those, you know, really those mundane everyday moments. So I've really enjoyed that. I've enjoyed kind of finding where I can be creative and where I can be artistic in just the everyday. And I love that so very much. So yeah, interior decorating, even cooking and baking. I've loved to use those things as like opportunities to be creative also with Esmeralda. So we love to bake together and take time to do that together and just go at our own pace and go slow and enjoy the process of those things. And then also, like, we just had a little holiday, which was St. Martin's Day, which is a big holiday here in Germany, and I hadn't known about it before I moved here. But it's a really special holiday, and on St. Martin's, a lot of children go out and have a little like lantern parade where they carry a lantern in the evening, and a lot of people make their own lanterns, and a lot of people also buy lanterns, but a lot of kindergartens, like, they make them at kindergarten and bring them with them. You know, the children bring them along. But we went and we collected leaves and petals and then kind of just made our own lantern, which was so much fun. And I think I'm going to share that on the blog, the process of how we did that, because it was so much fun, and I think it would be a really cool decoration for autumn or winter to have these little lanterns, especially, you know, here, you know, in this time of year. It gets so dark so early here where we are in Germany, in the Northern Hemisphere, you know, right now in these months. It's just super, over the Christmas period, it's super dark in a lot of places really early. So it's been so nice. We turn on the little lantern and we just have kept it as a decoration, which is so much fun. And kind of using different natural elements to decorate or to make little crafts. And yeah, there's just been so many fun ways that I've discovered that I can, you know, use as a creative outlet beyond just like handcrafts or just really like crafts. You know, and of course the kitchen has always been a place for me where that's been like, I've loved to do that. But in daily life, you know, there are just so many places where I feel like artistry can be injected into your day. So I've loved exploring that and discovering that, and just, I'm still in the process of learning, but I feel like having that perspective and that realization and that kind of that spark lighting up those interests again for me has been so wonderful in this period of time, and I've just loved it. So I hope I can share that with you too. I hope I can, over the next few weeks and months, share that with you. I think I hear my little baby waking up, and there's more that I want to talk to you about. There's more that I want to share with you. I don't know if people are interested in like hearing about how like the story, like more about baby things or not, or like children things. I feel like this is very much a crafting podcast and a making podcast, so I want to keep it that way. But it was just so, I have to say, like, the birth experience was so special with Vivian. We had such a special time. Like, it was the most incredible experience to have like her birth, and I really enjoyed it so much. And yeah, I don't know if I'm going to share that. I don't know if anyone's interested in that, and I also don't know if it's really like, you know, the place for it, because it is like a place for making. But I had a midwife attended birth with Esmeralda, and with Vivian I did as well, and both experiences were just amazing in their own unique ways. But this time it was so cool, it was so wonderful, and yeah, I just loved it so much. And so if you're pregnant and you're, you know, gonna have a baby, I think it's so exciting, and I hope, you know, it's good to hear positive stories about birth too, because I think you hear all kinds of different stories, and some can be really scary because it is a big, you know, someone described birth as kind of entering the portal, the other world in a way, because, you know, you're bringing, like, life is coming into the world. So it really is that. But I had such a great experience, and I think hearing positive experiences is really good too. And then my mom came to visit a few weeks after she was born, maybe like 3 or 4 weeks after Vivian was born. My mom came, and it was a really last minute visit, but it was such a gift to have her. I think she stayed for 2 weeks, which was really so special because she's got a lot of people who, you know, want her around and who need her around. I'm one of 6 children. I'm the oldest of 6 children, and 2 of my siblings still live at home with her. They're still like little, you know, not that little, but they're like, you know, still at home. And so yeah, the fact that she was able to come and be here with me for that time was just such a blessing and so wonderful. So I was so thankful for her. And she is just also like a maker and an artist. And she came and, I mean, she helped me a lot. She helped me pack and get our things ready to move. But she also helped me choose the colors for our apartment. I had a real idea about what I wanted. I love like interior design books. I love like vintage interior design, old interior design, but I also like love home, house and garden, and like all kinds of, you know, if you ever see like the House and Garden YouTube channel, or I love watching like YouTube videos, tours, learning from like interior designers. Favorite interior designer is Rita Koenig, which if you are like into that kind of thing, she's kind of like a very, very, very well-known designer, but I just love her house and I love her design. And so actually like our living room in this green color was inspired by her green living room for sure. But yeah, she helped me so much. And then she also was like painting and making art. That's what she always does when she comes, and so much fun. And another thing that I love to make, I was making all kinds of things for our house. Like we painted frames. I painted a ton of frames to kind of add a little texture. And we just made all kinds of different things. And so, yeah, it's been such a long time. I feel like a lot of it escapes me now, but I hope I'll be able to take you along with what we make next and what I like to do next, and, you know, maybe the next projects that we make. But even kind of just deciding where I'm gonna hang photos or hang pictures or, you know, those kinds of things. It's just so fun. It's such an outlet for creativity. So yeah, that's what I've been up to. Another thing that we've been loving lately, very lately, has been playing chess. Nick and I have gotten into playing chess together, which is so much fun. I really loved learning about chess more and more. I learned a long time ago when I was maybe like 13. My grandfather taught me and we played together a little bit, and I enjoyed it then, but you know, I was just, you know, I knew how to play, but I was never a good player, and I'm really not a good player, but I want to get better, and it's so much fun to play with Nick. And yeah, it's just something to do in the evenings and just be kind of really present with each other, really present with the game. It's just so much fun too. But I hear my baby crying, so I have to go. I think I'm just gonna go now. Thank you so much for watching. It's been so good to see you. You can find me on Instagram as Merryweather Living. I changed it so that it fits my blog, and I'm gonna share all kinds of making on there. But I'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye.